Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Blizzard ANZ TV for the inaugural night number 1 of the ANZ HGC Premier Division. This is history in the making here tonight, and it is an absolute pleasure to be here. We've got so much coming your way. Everybody has put in mountains and mountains of work, and we just can't wait to dive straight into it, deep end, no floaty style. My name is Kit Fox. Thank you so much for being here. It is going to go off like firecrackers on the 4th of July, and I am joined by Skimmy, my man, one of the best casters going around. How are you, friend?
Very well, Kit Fox. Thanks for the introduction there. And no, I mean, this has been a long time coming, hasn't it? An absolute blast in the making. This has been something that even myself and Starving, 2 years back, we had the idea, let's make a Premier Division. It wasn't quite strong enough then, but here we are making history happen. 8 teams have, I mean, for lack of a better word, really put in the hard yards to get here.
Yep.
And we've seen those qualifiers that allowed those other 5 to join. But now we get to see what is the difference between those 3 auto-qualified teams and the 5 that have had that long 4-week process.
Well, that's it. I mean, there are 8 teams we've sifted through, and we have come out with some of the best. In fact, the best. The top 8 teams that have qualified for the ANZ HGC Premier Division is Nomia, Outlaws, Crimson, Aztec Gaming, formerly known as GG Go Next, Downfall, Neko Mimi, the QM Warriors, and last but not least, the Rich Gang E-Thugs, with some of the best promo vids going around, Skip.
I mean, if you're talking about marketing, those guys exactly know how to get that thing done on Twitter. It's got the retweets, it's got the memes, and it's getting people excited, right? And at the end of the day, you want to try and get a bit of traction. We don't have the same backing as the major regions with banners and sprays and portraits, but we have our own little memes. We have our own ways of, cracking up a few jokes now and then.
Well, that's it. Does that mean we can actually cheer for our teams now at the Clash of Skinny and Twitch? Maybe one day we can pray.
Like this. Just hands on the webcam. We're cheering.
That's it, man. I know we'll be cheering for you. And first, mate, big congratulations. Nominated for, what was it? Esports Personality of the Year on air, mate. Congratulations, my friend. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Everybody, chuck a vote over to Skinny if you haven't done so already. But enough about that. Let's talk about the format tonight. We have got 2 games on stream. So they're going to be the best of 3 matches. And there is a home and away team, Skinny. So the home team actually gets the choice of either first pick or first map ban. So that is up to them to choose. In this instance, you have got Outlaws, which are on Team Blue, Nomia on Team Red. Skinny, you know what they chose.
That's the one. Yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a case of, do you want that first pick or do you want that first ban? Is map a priority or is that first pick a priority? And obviously these teams, 2 teams in particular, have had such a long time discussing where they want to go with things in terms of preparation. So they've had a lot of time to obviously scrim each other as well and figure out those weaknesses. Now, from what I was told earlier before, the map bans in no specific order were Tomb of the Spider Queen and Braxis Holdout, which has now brought us here to Battlefield of Eternity, a map which, well, it can be quite short, but for the most part, it's all about poking, skirmishing, and a little bit of defending.
And that's it. Before we get into that game, though, the teams in the Premier Division will be running over a league-style format, so they'll all get the chance to actually skirmish off against each other over the course of 9 weeks. And in that 9 weeks, there is actually a week break for everybody just to recoup, refresh themselves, and take a little bit of a breather, just to prevent that burnout, Skinny, because we know that's one thing that you do not want, and that can very easily happen when it comes to esports. But like we said, the top 2 teams will be going through to represent the ANZ region at the Intercontinental Clash against Latin America. So the way that that's going to work is that the 2 teams will qualify. They'll go all the way over to Brazil, and then they'll actually face each other. And once they've done that, once we have the creme de la creme of ANZ Hots, then they will face off against the best in South America for that spot to go over to BlizzCon, Skimmy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic opportunity. A lot of people have been quite upset about the fact that we're not going to be able to go directly overseas to verse your Fnatic, your MVP Blacks and whatnot. But I feel as if you've got to take a step back. We are a minor region at the end of the day. There's no point beating around that bush, right? So I feel as if there's a potential opportunity for you to succeed even further, right? You win your own region back here in ANZ. You then go overseas and prove that you are the more dominant and stronger region in that minor region circle. You then, as a result, you are going overseas. You are versing those better teams. It should then make for an overall better viewing experience, not only for local viewers, but for international viewers. And also for the team that does make it to, say, BlizzCon or the mid-season brawl, you should actually really feel that you deserve it because you are the strongest team. So I think there's a lot of lessons that can be taken away from this. Yes, you may not be able to go over, verse your Fnatic and get your free prize money. But Hey, there's a lot to celebrate still.
But hey, some would argue on the other side, you could say, hey, I am the best team on 2 different continents. How about that? Right. And then I'm going to go represent that. So there are, there's flip sides, there's ups and downs, but hey, I think it's fantastic. It's a learning experience, and I can't wait to see where it goes and where it grows from there. But ladies and gentlemen, let's get into this one. Skinny, the game number 1 is going to be Nomia versus Outlaws. Like you said, Battlefield of Eternity, poke is important. The race is important as well. And guys like ETC really come into the fray here for that mosh pit value and that zoning potential.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to tanks as well, you definitely want to try and understand where you want to go with this one. Are you looking for hard engage? Are you looking for sustain? We've seen lots of times the ETCs, for instance, go in. The weakness they have, though, if teams do go for a very poke-orientated style, I'm thinking Li Ming, for example, they just get whittled down. ETC wants to be in there. He wants to get out, right? He has that CC, but he's very squishy. That is the compromise. So these two teams, let's not forget, right? These two teams, they are the creme de la creme. Like, they are the auto seeded from last season's LAN. So this isn't going to be any show match. This is really going to be, I want to say you're top of the line. I wanted to say a Premier League joke, but it just eluded my mind for a second. This is going to be your top of the line game, right? So these teams will have those strats, will have those drafts, will have those understandings. Do we go poke? Do we go hard engage? And where do we focus our eggs? The big question for me, though, is obviously Maeve is now available. Yeah. So where do we see her in the fray of things, right?
I mean, given the flavour of a couple scrims that I've been privy to over the last couple of days, it's been first ban, Skimmy, because of obvious reasons. That Warden's Cage can provide massive amounts of CC potential, and even the Umbral Chain as well. I mean, the utility on Maiev is just insane. Look, I'm glad that the hero is here, one of my favourites in the Warcraft lore, but hey, very, very strong at the moment, Skimmy, and it will be interesting to see if it will be prioritised for that first ban or if anybody's going to gobble it up. We've seen the same with all the previous new meta champions, Skimmy. When Blaze came out, when Hanzo came out, it was still exactly the same, and those guys still very, very strong. So it just seems Blizz are keeping that ball rolling, releasing very, very, very strong new heroes.
That's the one indeed, Kev Fox. And I mean, it adds obviously a little bit of spice and flair to the meta, but they do get nerfed after a bit of time because people seem to get a little bit upset about how strong they are. But I'm getting the all clear from these guys here. So if you're ready to rock and roll, Kev Fox, let's get it on.
Mate, I was born ready. Let's get it on, ladies and gentlemen. The first game ever of the ANZ HGC Premier Division. My name is Kit Fox, joined by Skinny. It is Nomia and Outlaws. Let's get it on. Battlefield of Eternity. My God, Skimmy, here we are, the long road. It's led to this start of a journey, my friends.
This is a very long journey indeed. Something that we've been so thoroughly excited for, and now we get to finally see what it's all made of. These teams, mind you, Nomia have not played a single competitive game in 2018. They've had no roster swaps since they replaced the likes of Arcana and Robodoba. Everything stayed the same during that off-season. A long off-season for them as well. Are they burnt out? How have they recovered? How have they been performing during this off-season? I have witnessed a few of their scrims, and they've been looking more dominant than ever. The big reasoning behind that, was it complacency which made them lose against Darkside and ultimately sacrificing their spot for BlizzCon? Well, I don't think they're going to be complacent anymore. They want to take back their throne and show you that they are the reason ANZ was put on the map in the first place.
Well, I think they'll be refreshed where the team 2 knocked them off their perch, and they are actually no more at the moment. So their challenger is sort of a little bit more further in the wind than you would think. But hey, I mean, we've had a look at teams like Crimson, and we actually put out our predictions, Skimmy. You and I actually rated Crimson as number 1, Nomia as second. So it will be very interesting to see how these two juggernauts go at it.
I mean, yeah, these guys have been putting in a lot of, even Outlaws, for example, once known as NMD, a team which we always characterized as a sleeper team, and they've definitely come around, rewarded with obviously the sponsorship of the Outlaws coming around. But as you mentioned, yeah, Maeve taken away, and it is going to be the instant pick on the Malfurion. Such a strong pick. He was always strong to start with, but now in his new version, you play him slightly differently. I'd argue a lot more aggressively, in the sense that you want to get those moonfires out. Yes, you're putting the heals there, but the key component for this, and one that many people don't really realize, heroes like Genji, like Tracer, with massive mobility, you chuck the regrowth on them, they can go into Africa, but as long as you can still land that moonfire, they receive that burst heal component. Such a strong style of play, and wouldn't be surprised if we see something along those lines.
It's essentially a global heal, isn't it, if you play it right? So Malfurion Definitely strong. Doesn't really show your hand too much in terms of what your team composition is going to be either, but they're Tyrael and Greymane, very strong picks on the side of Outlaws to answer back from Malfurion. Again, doesn't really show too much. Just puts the question into the mind of Nomia for Tyrael. Will he go for that Sank for on top of the Immortal for the race, or will he go for that Judgment and hopefully dive on the back line, say on the likes of Malfurion, and even in the draft skinny, narrowing Nomia down to say, hey, that Judgment is always going to be a threat. You might have to think a few more times about picking squishy champions like your Valor and like your mages like Gul'dan.
Yeah, I mean, it's too early to call at this stage whether he's going to go Sanctification or Judgment just yet, but the one argument you could make for Judgment is with the new version of Cleanse that Malfurion has that doesn't offer unstoppable click frames like other cleanses do on other supports. So that's one thing to bear in mind. That could be a deciding factor if he was to try and go for a wombo combo. Generally speaking, you wouldn't see that because it can be countered so easily. And now that you have the ETC on the side of Nomia, you're thinking the Sanctification is that cat and mouse. Are you going to ult first? Am I going to ult first? Who is going to juke each other out? Li Ming comes across, obviously paired with Malfurion, is fantastic with the Innovate. And this really runs along the lines of what I was saying before. ETC, very susceptible to that poke style. If you've got Li Ming on your side as well, you've got the poke, you've got the engage, and you've got the ability to then try and interrupt with a power slide or a face melt as the Greymane and whatnot look to try and collapse upon you.
So at the moment, I'd say Nomia slightly ahead in the draft at this stage, just because there's really nothing to counter ETC at this point in time. I mean, either Greymane or Tyrael go diving in there, and they're just going to get CC'd by the mosh pit and rock out for days. But the ban now currently on the side of Outlaws, hovering the Tracer here, and they are actually going to lock that one out. So interesting, considering they got Malfurion and Li Ming on the other side. Maybe that's just revealing their choices here a little bit, Skinny.
I mean, Li Ming's always been a go-to pick for Nomia. John is just an absolute fantastic beast. Obviously, there's multiple Johns now. The meme has really evolved, but the true John, the John of all Johns, he is, an absolute fantastic player when it comes to going for Li Ming. There was a time and place where I think we looked at Brax's holdout, and Nomia just ran single mage comps, which was quite unheard of for such a long time. And, they would get those resets. They would just kill people, and there was literally no response to it whatsoever. You look at the ban, the Tracer, kind of really springs to mind what I was discussing before with the Malfurion. Don't know if they would have gone for that, but it could have disrupted this wombo all-in style that Outlaws are currently drafting for. The Malfurion response since his buff, you don't really see Tormented Souls anymore. Last Rites is that sort of that execution. It's really, really strong. So because they don't have an immunity at this stage, like a Divine Shield, like the Sank, just take it away and make that top lane a little bit easier for you guys to deal with.
Yeah, and I mean, you've already got their support locked in as well, so that's Mal. So that you would think that takes Uther off the board. Double support has sort of died off in the winds a little bit of late, and even then it would be somebody like the Tassadar or the Tyrande to complement that. But hey, it's now back over to Outlaws. Maiev and Tracer taken off the board. They have to answer this Li Ming here. That reset potential is really going to cause the problems. But at the same time, Skinny, they really need something to displace that ETC from the mosh pit. Like we said, Tyrael and Greymane not really going to do it at the moment. Arthas isn't going to do that either. So Outlaws just opening themselves up a little bit here. These next two picks are extremely crucial.
Interesting. See, so this composition right now, we saw it in the last week of the Premier qualifiers, and it's a very all-in style of play. Arthas, fantastic in the early game. Same with Greymane. Tyrael, not so much. But definitely can scale up into the later stages of the game. And Uther, he's there to combine that early game sort of pressure of stun after kill. So now you have this idea of you've got double immunities, potentially, right? But this is a composition which needs to get ahead, needs to snowball, and it's all about collapsing. A team like Nomia, we've generally said, they are fantastic at the macro game. Not the biggest map, only 2 lanes to play around with, but they will find those advantages, and that's what I look in something like a Dahaka.
Yeah, Tiger's going to shred that front line of that Tyrael Arthas Uther combo. Dahaka for that global pressure, even on Battlefield of Eternity. I mean, that 2-lane map can definitely get a push going, can steal the camps when you least expect it as well. So that sneaky play from that brush stalking Dahaka, definitely going to be playing in the back of the Outlaws' minds here. They'll need to keep an eye on that one, but still, Skimmy, the ETC is a big threat on the side of Nomia. What do you think they're going to go for here? I mean, they've kind of got everything, but I feel like they could use just a little bit more damage.
Yeah, they're definitely going to go for another DPS here. I'm just trying to consider where they would go with things. They need something slightly to survive. Greymane is a little bit susceptible, right, to the ideas of a drag, a slide, a root. So expect to see, especially now that Greymane's being changed and Cocktail build has almost been integrated and nerfed at the same time, expect to see him go almost a Quicksilver Bullet style of play. And play a little bit like a Vala in some respect, because if he jumps in and he doesn't have his protection, he is going to die. The Hanzo, I didn't really think of it. He slipped through the cracks. There is no Genji. There are no Shimada bans on those brothers, but the Hanzo is quite nice.
Yeah, it can definitely assist with racing down the Immortal as well, Skimmy. And either on this map, you could go for that Dragon Strike or the Dragon's Arrow. I mean, I personally like Strike on this map just because there are a lot of nooks and crannies, especially when the race is going down. But hey, let's see how it goes. That's what we like about Skimmy. It is going to go off and surprise everybody at the same time. But ladies and gentlemen, game number 1 of the HGC ANZ Premier Division in its inaugural season. My God, I'm proud to be here. Skimmy, it's Outlaws and Nomia. Who are you throwing your money behind?
Well, it has to be the Nomia boys. This is a team that have been around in the ANZ scene for such a long time. I know a lot of these players personally have spoken to them before this and said, where's your head at? Where's your prep at? And they're saying, look, we are super hungry to get our firm feet back in the ground. You know, we were the team to know, the team that everybody knew overseas as well. And for that one split second, we let our foot off the pedal. We are coming back with a vengeance, and we are proving that this Premier League division is where things need to be for us.
So on the blue side, that is Outlaws. You've got Lahal on Greymane, IBW on Tyrael. Coffee is playing Hanzo. He loves his Overwatch heroes. Fantastic Junkrat as well. Hiccup is on Uther, and Gondo is on Arthas.
There he is. And then we got Penta Unleash on the ETC, Ryu on Dihaka, John, the real John, on Tychus. And we had the other John, aka Fanny4 on Li Ming, as well as Vanilla on Malfurion. So this is the confusion that comes with double Johns. You don't know which one is which. Makes it interesting for shot calling, but at the same time, it makes it interesting for casting.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking, J1? I think I am, J2. Tychus and Li Ming. DPS fam going to be rolling out down there in the bot lane. Outlaws and Nomia. Remember, this is a best of 3, ladies and gentlemen. The teams will be scoring points throughout the league. But Skimmy, I'm just having a look at Hanzo. Currently hovering the town. He is going to go for the target practice talent. So looking to land those Stormbows early. But the level 4 talent is what perks up my ears. Will he go for the serrated arrows for the Immortal?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of different ideas you can go for this one. Generally speaking, we've seen people go for the Redemption, all about the auto attacks. But he realizes that, this isn't going to be a standard Hero League game where you do die, you lose those 3 stacks. And if you never have 12 constantly, then you're just never going to get the value. It does help out, obviously, with your very slow bow and arrow. But for the most part, this target practice choice here will mean that he has a little bit more burst. And then, obviously, we can see how things unfold from level 4 onwards.
So the old-fashioned ANZ hunch up going down there in the bot lane. Top lane looks like it's going to be Ryu versus Gondo. So Arthas versus Dahaka, both sizing each other up at the moment, just shaping up. You want to bro down, bro? That's what they're saying. In goes Ryu to show his face first, and already landing that Howling Blast is Gondo, but Ryu switched on with the tongue drag. Meanwhile, back down at the bot lane, Panda forced a power slide away there. BW doing a fantastic job there with those Tyrael shields, just to provide a little bit more survivability for his team as ETC decides to go deep. And Vanilla just popping Moonfires, just being a little bit of a nuisance. Like you said earlier on, Skinny, that build, you need to be aggressive there on the Malfurion if you want to keep your healing numbers up.
Absolutely, and with the Nature Swiftness at level 1, it's going to give him that much-needed mobility to try and run away from the likes of an Arthas. Once he's caught you in that Frozen Tempest, you are not escaping. And as a Vala player myself, it's the most frustrating thing when you're caught on that, you're trying to vault away and it's just not going to happen. The one thing, Kitfox, actually to mention about that target practice choice, that talent at level 1, is it means that now Outlaws actually have some poke to try and mirror what John's going to be able to do on this Li Ming.
Yeah, so John thinking about a rotation at the moment. No, they decide against it. That poke potential is going to be strong. Like you said, the Greymane and the Hanzo, they do need to neutralize that from Ming. She deals massive, massive chunks. Now, teams just thinking about the camp here down in the bot lane. No, they decide against it. Look at that. John just deleting the back line of the wave very, very quickly. They're trying to shove this lane, buy themselves a little bit of room, and now maybe they'll think about taking up one of those neutrals. Side to dominant for now, it seems. It's a very slow start to the first game.
And it will be indeed. You can already see that Ryu's been forced to go back, use the brush to come back in. The early game prowess of Arthas. And as a result of pushing that lane in, he is looking for that rotation. This is what we're discussing during the draft. They are a 5-man wrecking ball. They want these fights. The flip side of that is Nomia want to try and split them apart. They need to find value with Ryu on this Dahaka, despite it being a 2-lane map. So every time Malphus can come down like this, they're going to be looking for kills. And if he gets countered like this, it's going to be a fantastic chance for a first blood. And there it is. Nomia start 2018 off for bang.
Yeah, Arthur's feeling the wrath there. Just got rooted at the wrong time, and unfortunately for Outlaws, that is a main tank down. They've only got Tyrael there playing sort of a bruiser role, but having a look at how quick Nomia were able to clear out that Khazra camp down in the bot lane. It's now been taken down, and the Immortal spawning in 3 seconds. Their timing is impeccable. Skimmy. Arthur will be back up. He'll join the party late. It's a good spawn here for Nomia on the Immortal to start things off, and they'll get some free damage while Outlaws just a little bit late rolling up.
They have made a fantastic shot call, which is let's pick up the Shaman camp. Okay, we don't have the members to try and force a fight. We'd ideally like to have had that. But Shaman camp is fantastic if you can cap it at a time like this, because whilst you're busy doing this little dance around where these two Immortals are, that is pushing bot lane for free. Those dogs constantly summoned and constantly causing pressure on the lane.
They make the call to defend now to Outlaws. They're trying to go deep at Penta. Just being a presence there on that front line on the ETC, and Nomia pull the pin on their attack, but that Ming, this is where she's going to find the value. The poke damage with the arcane missiles and the orb, just at range, able to chunk down that Immortal. But meanwhile, on the back line, Lahal's getting to work on the own, so the race is on at the moment. This is where Outlaws need to make the call to defend, but they're going to be one man down because Lahal moved early to the back line. Oh no, Ryu's been dragged into the root, and Coffee gets taken down, so Hanzo will not be providing DPS for this fight. Gondo now trying to get away, narrowly dodges an orb. Lahal has done a fantastic job to bring down the shield on Nomia's Immortal, but unfortunately he was not fast enough. But they'll be pretty happy with that engage, I think, Outlaws. They did lose Hanzo, but Mahal did great chunking down that shield.
Big reason you pick Raymond on a map like this, he just absolutely destroys these Immortals. When he's in that Worgen form, his auto attack hits like a truck. And I mean, they almost consider, you could see by their posturing and the positioning, it was, hey, we're not going to be able to actually win this fight. We are down in XP. They are going to hit 7 first. They are winning this Immortal race. Let's just try and narrow down the shield. That's what they did. They lost a member for their efforts as well. Not ideal, but you know, this is early game styles. It's all about how they can recover from this.
Coffee actually not opting for the serrated arrows. Lahal, meanwhile, gets rooted down in the bot lane, and IBW's shield was not enough to save him. So Outlaws just bleeding experience down here at the moment. There's not really much they can do to defend this bottom tower. The Immortal's still only at half HP. Kenta decides to go deep, being very, very aggressive. They will concede the bottom tower. Outlaws, they have to go back, heal themselves up, lick their wounds, and Nomia, they'll just get a rotate going. They're going to set up for that top get. Maybe a gank on Gondo. Yeah, the direction next to Howling Blast wins it. See you later. Easy kill, easy game, says Nomia.
Gondo. So overextended there, realizing that, hey, I do win this early game matchup, but has to understand, and surely there had to be a shot call from the rest of his team there. They have left the Punisher. They are coming for you. Where was that call? Because it was so overextended, and just like that, these are easy kills. The second for him.
For Gondo, yes, now level 10 is just creeping ever so close now for Nomia. Level 7 only just being hit by Outlaws. Just looking to starting to look like the Nomia of old here, Skinny, where they can just latch on to a little bit, and next thing you know, you've got that yarn ball pull, and it just doesn't stop. They just do not give up at all. They're very close to 10. They're about to get the drop down here on Outlaws in the mid before the second Immortal gets up, and it could be dangerous.
We're going to look for it once again. Penta getting aggressive with this power slide. You can see this is a man full of confidence. This is a man that once in the finals burrow charged blindly on Cursed Hollow into his own camp to be met by 5 Dark-Sided members. And I tell you what, he was extremely tilted by that. But this revolutionary break, if you will, is refreshed. And you can see the confidence on this ETC. I always give him a hard time for playing Mirrodin, but he's definitely putting on a performance so far. Level 10, as you say, is just around the corner for them. And this is a scary situation for Outlaws right now, Kit Fox. They are a team which should have had the early game advantage. They got this very wombo combo centric style of play. They haven't really had the strongest early game as such. Now they have to play defensive, potentially once again another Immortal, lick their wounds, get 10, and just hope that somehow they can land some fantastic wombo combo invulnerability special.
Well, they're no fools at Outlaws. They've qualified here for a reason. They know that it would be foolish to engage with anything other than level 10, but at this point in time, they haven't really got anybody soaking down that bottom lane, and the wheels are just starting to fall off here. They were questioning my power rankings of them being number 6 at the moment. Nomia are making them look like exactly that, but they are a class team. I said impress me, and at the moment, they just can't, because Nomia, utilizing that experience, are just putting the sleeper hold on here. ETC finally completing that frog rock. But Nomia continue to pour on the pressure here. They don't even care about the Immortal. It's just going to be Ryu getting to work on it as they continue to aggress on top.
And that's the benefit of having this macro style of play, right? And we discussed that's been a big focal point for Nomia. They want to split you apart. They understand that your strategy, that of Outlaws, is very one-dimensional. It's all about collapsing, staying as 5. But if you can split them apart, if you can do what Ryu's done so far, hey, you're distracting them by keeping them at their gates. He's getting this down for free. The halftime show kicks in, and it gets very hard to try and find that window to get yourself back into this game.
Well, they're trying to do exactly that. You can see Lahal and Gondo, on the Arthurs just soaking up the lanes at the moment, but Nomia pulling the old switcheroo. Oh, the Tongue and Ryu, the wall MVP there in the end. Tongue Drag, unfortunately, unable to secure the kill thanks to the unpathable terrain, but Nomia have actually pinched the Shaman camps out from under Outlaws here. They're going to get an Immortal to boot as well. They've got 2 camps, Kazuras and Shaman, pushing that bottom lane at the moment, and like I said, that Immortal has got a very healthy shield. We're not even 10 minutes into this game, Skinny, and this could very well be a win condition.
I mean, it's really disgusting. Shaman's in the bot lane. The Immortal's going to join them as well. There was no contest as well.
Oh,
That's falling so far down. Gondo's going to be another casualty. The 3rd time he's fallen in this game. Not having a good start to his 2018 campaign, but I tell you what, Nomia are here with fire, burning in their belly, ready to go for a keep and show this team exactly what is up.
They say, we want to reclaim that throne. That throne is ours. We are the kings. Put the crown on our heads. And here comes the Odin to secure exactly that. Will they get the game? Will they take advantage in the series? This could be the push. The Immortal still has taken barely any damage at all. Meanwhile, the Unstoppable comes out. The Sanctification is good there for in the nick of time. And this is the fight they need. The Mosh goes in.
Full Mosh pit goes off and it's just lighting up like fireworks. 1, 2, 3. Can I find a 4th? Yes, I can. And Coffee, do not run away from me because I'm going to need some caffeine after this game. You are in for a treat. Best of 3. 10 minutes into this one, and I am saying good night, sweet prince. They lost the full with a 3k shielded Immortal. They've lost 4 members, and the Immortal is full health kitbox. How about that? 10 minutes into this, see you later.
Here in the ANZ HGC Premier Division, Nomia with 9 minutes and 41 seconds played total game time, Skinny. They're sitting pretty in very, very familiar territory, and that is with an advantage in a best-of-3 series.
I mean, I said at the start of that one, who did you think my favorite was? It had to be Nomia. For what reason? This is a team. You can't underestimate these guys. They are so friendly with how BlizzCon. They're like, we really need to up our game. Now, there's always going to be this discussion. Was it complacent? Was it tilt? What was the factor? Put that all aside. This is the Nomia we're looking at right now. And this is them crushing a team which has made it as a top 3 auto qualifier. They've beaten them in 9 minutes and 41 seconds. That alone should tell you guys the sort of strength that Nomia are coming into the season with.
They look fresh, don't they, Skinny? They look like a completely new team. There was questions when, Roba and Arcana left, and hats off to them. They're doing fantastic over in their respective regions. The questions, the shadows hovered around them. They looked a little bit shaky against Darksided last year, but hey, I mean, they are like a phoenix rising out of the ashes here at the moment. That is a dominating performance to start things off here in the Premier Division, and they would not have it any other way. They've got their eyes on that prize.
And I mean, to follow that point even further, there was a lot of controversy over Ryu. I mean, Ryu is an ex-League of Legends pro, right? We said this guy is really going to bring some much-needed experience to fill the big boots of what was Robodobo and Arcana, which, as you can see, are flourishing now in the European region. But, Ryu was given a very hard time, and whilst you can make an argument that a lot of it was justified, maybe that has fueled him, and the competitive experience that he does have has allowed him to get to a stage like this. Didn't really see too many mistakes from him. He just played the lane. If anything, he was putting all the pressure on Gondo to say, you've drafted early game. You need to be the one that takes the initiative. He tried to, and within like 3 minutes, he ran bot lane, which was a good call, but it didn't work out.
And then Gondo got himself caught again, and it was unfortunate from there. And the wheels just started to fall off. But Skinny, we're going to get into round number 2 very, very shortly. And I hope, ladies and gentlemen, if you were catching the lobby earlier on, you would have caught Blank and one of the other casters, GL Phoenix, chatting everything about the ANZ region. And they were talking about the power ranking, Skimmy. And like we were touching on a little bit previously, you and I put Crimson as number 1, Nomia as 2. I don't know, man. I'm starting to second guess myself after that one. That was fresh.
Well, it's best of 3. We are going to have Crimson as well, so we need to see what those guys are up to. And I mean, at the end of the day, predictions are predictions. You are going to cop flack because it's an opinion. And so I'm sure there's going to be people out there. You said 6th place for the Outlaws. I said 3rd. I don't think Outlaws are that far and out, but Nomia are just a step above the rest. Really is night and day. But as the season unfolds, it's a very long season at that. Not to mention, it's going to be a round robin. So these guys are going to see each other another time later on. And we are going to see exactly how things progress on through.
Well, to be totally honest, teams 4 and onwards down to 7 and 8. I mean, sorry, just before 7 and 8, it's very tightly knit. So, I mean, anybody could take the place in there. But like you said, Nomia just setting the benchmark here to start things off, Skimmy. That was dominating. We're not even done yet. They are actually going to treat us again to some more esports, and let's see if they can execute it. They have been getting sweaty over the preseason in terms of their scrims and whatnot. It definitely showed there.
I mean, sweaty is a statement that I think needs to be even pushed down. Is there a word to supersede sweaty? I think that was just...
Yeah.
I don't even know how to describe that kit, folks. It was... I don't want to say embarrassing. It's not the right term, but it was disgusting. It was gross.
Yeah, I agree in terms of damage, but in a good way. For anybody watching overseas, that means good over here, you know. Aussie banter. But we're going to get into game number 2, Skimmy. But while we do that, if you haven't done so already, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you are following up on the top right-hand corner of your screen there, the channel Blizzard ANZ. Make sure you get over onto the Twitter as well to follow at Blizzard Esports ANZ, as well as regular Blizzard ANZ. And of course, while you're there, throw a GameStar I like as well. And if you do want to join the chats, you can always join the Discord chats as well. Apologies for that one. But Skimmy, we're going to get into game number 2. Are we going to have the first map the first map ban or the first pick here for the Outlaws?
I'm just checking with these guys now. What I've been told is that Outlaws have gone for the map again themselves. They've gone for Sky Temple this time. So, I mean, it works both ways. A map which, once again, promotes a very similar style to Battlefield of Eternity, where you want to force the fights, but it's that much wider, that much bigger to exploit for a team like Nomia. You thought that Hahaka didn't find much value on a map like that. He finds infinitely more on this map here. So I want to see what other sort of strategies the Outlaws have prepared, because a composition like that seemed a little bit too one-dimensional for a team as experienced as those guys.
Yeah, they were outdone in the draft there. Like we said, the ETC went the whole way through just sitting there saying, hey, are you going to give me some attention or not? And in the end, that mosh pit sealed the deal. There was really nothing to counter it. I mean, the positioning was perfect in the end. But hey, like we said, at 9 minutes and 41 seconds game, it doesn't really get much more.